Hello. Before I properly start episode 72 of the Crochet Cakes podcast, I just wanted to say that my family in Puerto Rico is safe and I'm working on sending some supplies to Puerto Rico via my parents. And I also wanted to say that my thoughts and everything goes out to Australia, and I really hope that it rains again so that the fires can slow down and eventually be put down. I'm also looking for charities that I can donate money to for efforts to help during and after the bushfires. So if you are watching from Australia and you have any idea of charities I can donate to, then please comment down below. Back to the program. Hi guys, and welcome to episode 72 of the Crochet Cakes podcast. My name is Clarissa and you can find me anywhere on the internet as Crochet Cakes. You may also follow my blog, crochetcakes.com. You may also join the Ravelry group, Crochet Cakes Podcast, and you may also follow me on Pinterest and Instagram. All the links for this will be provided in the down bar below. In today's episode, recorded on the 19th of January 2020, I will be discussing some crochet finished objects with you, specifically a crochet garment, some items that I have on the go. So I have a knitting scarf and a pair of crochet socks, and that is what I will be sharing with you today. Hello, I hope you are all doing well. I know it's been a long time since I sat before you and shared anything, and you know, there are several reasons for that. Mostly it's kind of explained by the title, Why Do You Crochet? And I will be publishing a blog post tomorrow, Monday, the 28th of January, as well, that's titled, Why Do You Crochet? And I will go more in depth there for the reason of my long absence. But suffice it to say that I just didn't want to crochet at all. I really kept pushing myself to try and want to crochet and to just share things with you and keep my upbeat crochet attitude, but I wasn't feeling it. And it wasn't just this last year, 2019. It actually started in 2018 when I first moved to Florida, which incidentally is where I am podcasting from. So it's been kind of a roller coaster ride in this crochet world for me, and as such I am way behind on what's going on, who's doing what cows are going on, who already posted their podcast, who hasn't posted a podcast since December. I am just really out of the loop because I've not even been on Instagram, which is true. So I apologize if you have written to me on Instagram and I have not gotten back to you. The amount of time I've been spending on Instagram has been like 10 minutes per day. So if I don't see your comment in those 10 minutes, then I do apologize. But I've gone in and I've replied to everybody that messaged me and anybody who commented on any of my past pictures. So thank you very much for sticking with me and just for still sharing your love of crafting with me and this channel and my Instagram feed, even though I have been very absent from it. But we are in a new year, and in New Year's we make resolutions and we say things that we would like to change, things that we would like to keep. Well, I have to say I do not have any grand words for you this year. I think my word for the year is gratitude. I'm going to try and live my life with much more gratitude. Be grateful for the things I have. Be grateful for all the people I get to share my time with. Be grateful for just everything that I can be grateful for in my life, which is a lot of things. And to remind myself of this, I've started a gratitude journal. So every night I write down at least five things I'm grateful for that happened during that day. Now, this is not an original idea. This is an idea from the Simple Abundance book, which incidentally I have started reading again, and I need to catch up on today's prompt, which is the 19th of January. But I do not want to dwell too much on the negativity I felt towards crochet and knitting in general. So I'm going to move forward, and if you are interested in reading a little bit more about that, then please check out my blog post, which is almost finished. I just have to do some final edits on it, which hopefully I will get to do after I record this podcast and eat, because I haven't even had breakfast yet, and I'm in the middle of making lunch. So we're gonna press on with this podcast. Now, I guess I'm going to address the elephant in the room, and that is I no longer have any length of hair. I have a really short pixie, which is kind of inspired by Twiggy's pixie cut in the 60s. And if you are not familiar, please look it up, but I will share this little tidbit. The 60s are back when it comes to hairstyles. I am very serious. Even the hairspray, big poofy things. And you either have short hair this season or really, really long hair. I'm really liking the short hair, guys. It's so much more freeing. It gives me a sense of just peace with myself. I don't have to argue with my hair to do anything. I just, I get up, I kind of comb it into shape, and I keep going. Of course, that's because I blow dried it the night before, but usually I just blow dry my hair when I wash it, and I dry it with a blow dryer. But anyway, so ends the fashion segment, which is not usually a part of this podcast. I just thought I'd share that with you because I'm really liking my haircut. It's one of the things that I'm actually really grateful for, that I took the plunge to just get a new haircut, which I've been meaning to do since last year. Right, so the other thing is you may notice an improved video quality, and that's because I finally figured out how to do my lights. It only took a year, and I have a new camera. So my husband bought me the Lumix G7, which is by Panasonic, and that's what I'm recording today's episode on. It took a little bit of kind of understanding because I was accidentally recording in 4K mode, and if you don't know, 4K is takes up a lot of space. So my SIM card was just like, no, you gotta stop. But anyway, let's finally get to a finished object segment. And the finished object that I have to share with you guys is actually something I finished at the end of December 2019, and it's the Christmas gift for my husband. And if you'd followed episode 71, which was the previous episode, I shared a little bit about this sweater with you. And I had said that I was going to make a pattern for it, just a free pattern on my blog, and more of a recipe than a pattern because I was just going to share with you how I made it. I'm still kind of planning on doing that. The drawback is that I was so focused on finishing the sweater that I didn't write down anything that I did with it. But we've got a finished sweater, and this is going to blow out the camera because it is black. But the sweater design is top down in the round. It uses raglan increases and the extended single crochet stitch. Edison has worn this like 3 or 4 times already because it's really cold where he works. And the neckband is just front post stitches. Then the sleeve cuffs are also front post stitches, and the band of the sweater are also front post stitches. So I just did a rib with front post stitches, in case I didn't mention that enough. So he really loves this sweater. Like I said, I'm planning on sharing with you how I did it. It's just going to take a little bit of figuring it out based on counting in, stitches and increases. But I honestly just took a sweater that he liked the fit of, and I measured what I was doing against it. I made this sweater using Lionbrand Jeans Yarn, in the colorway Stovepipe. Yeah, it's Stovepipe color, and it's a 100% acrylic yarn. I loved working with this yarn. It is really, really nice to work with. I didn't find that it was splitty, and I used a 5mm hook to make it because I am tending to crochet looser, and I didn't want the sweater to be so open, which is why I also chose to use this extended single crochet stitch. And this actually recommends a 5.5mm hook, so I wasn't too far down. I used a 5mm hook, and there is really nothing else that off the top of my head I can remember about this sweater. It's really not complicated, it's very beginner friendly, and I guess the only thing I would have to actually explain just a little bit in the pattern would be where I place the raglan increases, but essentially I just followed the lines in the shoulder, and I did make him try this sweater on a lot. He was getting annoyed with me because it's just like, just make it and I'll wear it. Like, you can't just make it and you wear it. It has to fit you. It has to look nice. So this is the one and only finished object that I had, and works in progress. Why don't we continue with some knitting? Because I talked crochet, so now let's talk a little bit knitting. Now, I do have some things on my knitting needles. 2 pairs of socks. One for my sister that's been on my needles for 2 years, and one for me that's been on the needles since last year for my birthday. It was my birthday cast on. And I also have the fall scarf from Emma Potter, who's Potter and Bloom. She has a lovely podcast if you haven't seen it, and she's also a very talented knitwear and crochet designer. So I am, like I said, currently working on the fall scarf, and I know I've been working on this for a while. It's been on my needles for a while, but I literally have been working on just this scarf now. So it's really long, and I've used up already 1.5 balls of the main color, which is this kind of sand looking cream, and it's the Bone colorway from Caron Simply Soft. And I'm also every once in a while breaking it up with the Chartreuse colorway from Caron Simply Soft, which is a yellowy green that I absolutely love. Not to be confused with lime green. It is not lime green, it's Chartreuse. So I started when I started with the Chartreuse colorway, and then I just did the Bone, and I kept breaking it up that way. I meant to measure this just to tell you guys how long I've made it, but if I wear it and just, you can see, hang this little bit, which is about 40 rows and 10 rows extra right now. I'm going to stand up, but you cannot even see where the end is, and it ends right where my thigh begins. So that's a very, very nice plushy scarf. Now, the original pattern was written for DK weight yarn, and Caron Simply Soft is a worsted weight yarn. So it is a little bit heavier, but I used the same knitting needles that she uses in the pattern, which are the 5mm needles, and I have a pretty loose gauge when it comes to knitting, so I think it's going to be fine. And just by wearing it, look at this stretch. So I think when I wash it, I'll actually end up with a blanket more than a scarf, because it's really wide. Like, it's from kind of, it's wider than my shoulder, that's for sure. Of course, when I finish it, I'll provide all the measurements, because one of the things I do want to do this year is update my project page on Ravelry. Mostly so I can keep track of the projects, and also because if I'm sharing it with you here, you may not remember and you're like, oh, I wonder what changes she did to the pattern or whatnot. So you can go to the Ravelry page and check those out. The other thing that's different from when you last saw this project is the needles. I bought some Chiago needles, 32-inch cable, and just 5mm, because the bamboo ones that I was using, they were getting a little annoying, I have to say. I like using wooden needles, but for acrylic, I felt they were a little bit too grippy, and Caron Simply Soft actually splits a lot. I thought that was just in crochet, but nope, it actually does that in knitting too. But the deciding factor of me changing the needles was, come on, focus, that my dog bit these needles, and they were kind of catching in the yarn. Not kind of, they were catching in the yarn. So they're still user-friendly needles, and I did sand it down just a tiny bit so that they wouldn't catch as much, but it was just getting a little bit too fussy for my taste. So I took the plunge and I just bought my Chiago red lace from Amazon. No special place. Well, Amazon's a pretty special place sometimes because you can find a lot of things that you wouldn't think are on Amazon. But anyway, this is the fall scarf by Emma. If you knit faster, you would probably already finish it. It's a very simple pattern. It's an 8-row pattern repeat, and you just keep working it, and it's so squishy, guys. I love working on that scarf, but I also wanted to have it finished by now because next week it's going to be, shockers, 40s and 60s. So it's going to be a good weather to have a lovely blanket scarf. But, you know, I guess I can just wear it while I knit on it because it really does feel like a blanket. Alright, so the other project that I've been working on just a little bit, I actually cast this on during my Christmas vacation, is a pair of crochet socks. Now these crochet socks are super special. They're not for me, they're for my husband, and they are made using Laceweight yarn. First, let's talk colors. So this color is a lovely mixture of greens and blue tones, so it really does look like the sea, and just if you are looking into the camera, then you will see all the different shades of green and blue that it has. If you are not, I'm going to attempt to describe it. There are some very nice specks of dark forest green. There's some teal, and there's a lighter blue hue and a lighter green hue that could almost be like a yellowy green. And this is the huge cake of yarn, so you can appreciate what it looks like in the cake. You can see more of the blue and green tones in the cake. The yarn is from Crafternoon Treats, and it is her Crafternoon Lace and Nylon blend. This is superwash treated in Yorkshire, and it's a 100 gram, 800 meters, and it's called Evergreen Thunder. That's the name of the colorway. Evergreen Thunder. And it, you know, it's a very appropriate name. It's very green and luscious and beautiful. And I'm using a 2.5mm hook. This is just a tulip hook to make this sock. Now, what can I tell you about the sock itself? It takes a little adjusting to work with the Laceweight yarn. I've never really worked with Laceweight yarn, so this is the first project I've done with Laceweight. But since I'm using such a small hook, that also takes a little bit of getting used to. Now, normally crochet socks feel much more like boot socks. They're a lot thicker. You might not be able to fit them in your tennis shoes, maybe, depending on your tension and how wide you made the sock. But this Laceweight sock compares to a knit sock. I am not kidding you guys. It's just nice and soft, but also form-fitting enough. I really cannot wait to actually get some more of this yarn Although hopefully I will be able to get 2 pairs of sock out of 800 meters, but we'll see, because I need to weigh how much yarn I've used on one sock to then, you know, make the second sock and kind of just figure it all out as I go, essentially. But I'm doing a linked double crochet stitch all the way around because I thought that was make it much more cushioned, and it really does. It feels glorious. So I'm very happy with the progress on that. I know I'm not the only one who's talked about using Laceweight wool nylon yarn to make crochet socks. Caroline from My New Muse Crafts, she's talked about it a lot, and so has Catherine, and I think Faye from the Crochet Circle podcast may have also mentioned it. But I didn't want to wait for anybody else to try it first, so I went ahead and I started that during Christmas. But I actually have not worked on it since Christmas because I've been really distracted with the fall scarf. I'm loving working on it, and I just really want to get it completed, and it would be good because it's been 1 year on the needles, I think. What is it with me and having knitting projects more than I think my knitting projects are way too long on the needles, and that's something I'm trying to change, mostly by working on them more often so that I can practice my knitting and potentially get faster. I'll never be a speed demon, but I figure practice makes perfect, and maybe that will make me enjoy knitting more if I actually feel that I can handle the stitches, handle it if the stitches fall and things like that. So that is actually all that I have to share with you today in terms of crafting. I have not worked on anything else. Well, I guess during Christmas I did make this little ornament that died. My dog got really upset with me one day, and he jumped on the couch and started taking ornaments off the tree, and this was one of the unfortunate ornaments that got shredded, and it was a little wreath. I had just bought, you can kind of see it poking through, just a metal ring, and then I single crocheted around it using this lovely yarn. I loved working with this yarn, and the stitch definition was gorgeous. This is Buttercream Luke's Craft Cozy yarn. You can find it at Joann's, and it is the color mustard, of course, and it's 87 yards, 200 grams, super bulky, and I'm trying to find the makeup of the yarn. 50% superwash wool, 50% acrylic. It is a cloud of loveliness. I really regret not buying more of this yarn because when I went, it was $4.99 instead of $15, so it was a really good deal. And I loved working on it. I think it would have made a gorgeous, bulky sweater or cardigan. So that was the other little crochet project I had to share with you. The other little tidbit that I have to share with you is I came out in a magazine. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the month of November, the editor of Crochet Now got in touch with me, or one of the editors of Crochet Now magazine from the UK got in touch with me and asked if I would be okay with being featured in their magazine for the January issue. And yeah, I was. So I sent them a picture of me and I came out in the magazine. I'm trying to look because Mom actually sent me a picture of me in the magazine. And there I am next to Real Talk with Tian and Zines and Rogers. Alright, so there is my little space in the magazine. So thank you so much to Crochet Now for featuring me and for being interested in this podcast, and the lovely community around it to, you know, actually feature me in your magazine. So that was also one of the reasons why I simply had to podcast today for you guys, because I was really excited to share that with you. It's something that I kept quiet about just in case it didn't happen. I wouldn't get your hopes up or my hopes up. But other than that, I've just been reading. I downloaded a new Kindle book, and it's, I forgot the title of the book. So I will put it down below and I will link it in case you're interested. But I do remember what the book was about, and it takes place during Viking times. And there's this island that has been cursed to not give birth to, no native man on the island may be able to reproduce and have a daughter, because she felt that daughters were mistreated and they weren't actually honored as members of the society. So this woman cursed her country to not be able to have daughters. And she said her son would be the only salvation. So it's actually a really interesting book, and I read a little bit every night. So I haven't actually completed it, but I do love the writing style, and I do love the descriptions. Some books have descriptions in awkward places. Not this one. This one has really nice. Right, so I'm just gonna make this real quick because my memory card keeps getting full and I can't get the end of this podcast filmed. I was telling you about the book that I was reading, and I'm gonna, like I said, link it down below so you can find a better synopsis for the book. Thank you so much for sharing your crafty time with me today. I hope to see you again soon. Please comment, like, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Please comment on this video. I love hearing your comments, and I just hope you guys have a wonderful crafty week. Bye!